A werewolf romance story written by Wicked Serenity. Introduction. They said no Omega survives being marked by two alphas. That the body breaks. The soul splits. The heart never beats the same again. But Astrid lived. She lived through the bite of the first, Warner, the alpha who swore he'd protect her even if it meant damning them both. She lived through the second, Rowan, his brother, who carved his claim into her skin with blood and cruelty. Now, two marks burned beneath her throat like brands of sin. One made of love. The other, hate. Fate calls it a curse. The pack calls it blasphemy. But Astrid calls it what it truly is, revenge waiting to be born. Because she isn't running anymore. She's coming back to the brothers who broke her. To the kingdom that sold her. To the moon that watched and did nothing. And when she returns, they'll all learn what happens when an Omega refuses to die. Because she was never meant to belong to either of them. She was meant to end them both. Chapter 1. Rain fell in silver knives across the northern forest, slicing through the mist and moonlight. Astrid moved through the downpour like a ghost, her cloak soaked, her breathing shallow, her heart a drum that refused to slow. Her fingers brushed the twin scars at her neck, two marks, two brands of ownership that should have killed her years ago. But she was still here. Still burning. She didn't know why the goddess spared her. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was cruelty. Maybe it was because fate wasn't finished with her yet. The scent of wolves drifted on the wind, strong, musky, unmistakable. She was close to the border. To them. Her boots splashed through the mud as she neared the ridge that overlooked the valley of her old pack. The lights of the fortress shimmered in the distance, golden through the fog. Her chest tightened. She hadn't seen it in 7 years. Not since the night Warner sold her to his brother. 7 years since the night everything she loved turned to ash. A branch cracked behind her. Astrid spun, dagger drawn before the echo died. But the figure that stepped out of the mist didn't attack. A young wolf, barely past adolescence, fell to one knee before her. His clothes were torn, his hands trembling. "My lady," he gasped. "You shouldn't be here." She frowned. "You know who I am?" "Everyone does." He looked up, eyes wide with fear. "The Omega who bears two marks. The cursed one." She almost laughed. "Cursed. That's what they're calling me now." He nodded. "The Alphas declared you dead. They said your body was burned by the goddess for defying her will." Her lips curved into something sharp. "Then it's time I proved them wrong." The boy's expression faltered. "They'll kill you if you cross that border." "They can try." She stepped past him, her cloak trailing mud and water. But his next words froze her. "Alpha Rowan rules now. Alpha Warner disappeared into the mountains after the war." Astrid's heart stopped. "Warner is alive?" The boy hesitated. "They say so. He was seen last month, alone, broken. Some say he's hunting you." A bitter laugh escaped her throat. "Hunting me? After what he did?" She turned her gaze toward the fortress. The moonlight caught the edge of her dagger, glinting cold. "If he's looking for me, then he'll find me first." The boy looked terrified. "You can't." But she was already gone, fading into the rain. The night deepened, heavy with thunder. Astrid moved like shadow through the old path that led to the heart of the fortress. Memories clouded her with every step, Warner's touch, Rowan's smirk, the night of the ritual. The way Warner's voice had broken when he whispered, "Forgive me, Astrid." She'd thought he was saving her. She was wrong. When she reached the outer wall, the guards were already whispering, news spread fast. The cursed Omega had returned. Some said she was a ghost. Others said she was death itself. She didn't care what they called her. As long as they remembered her name. Astrid pressed her palm to the cold stone wall. Her magic stirred, wild, unstable, but alive. It pulsed through the ground, searching for the familiar thread of Warner's energy. It was faint, far north. Alive. Her breath hitched. He hadn't died after all. The realization cut through her like a blade. Because if Warner still lived, then everything she'd believed, the pain, the hatred, the years of suffering, wasn't over. It was only waiting. Lightning flared above, throwing her shadow across the fortress gates. The rain fell harder, and for a moment she could see herself reflected in a puddle, eyes like gold fire, lips pale, the scars on her neck glowing faintly through the rain. The marks pulsed, one burning cold, one hot. Warner's mark, still defiant. Rowan's mark, still possessive. They were both calling to her. And she would answer. Astrid straightened, pulling back her hood. Her hair, black as ink, clung to her face as thunder rolled over the mountains. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the distant cry of a wolf. It was his howl. She knew it instantly. Warner. The sound made her stomach twist. Once, it had meant safety. Now, it was the echo of everything she'd lost. Her voice was a whisper beneath the storm. I'm coming for you. The fortress loomed ahead, a cage of stone and memories. Somewhere inside, the brothers waited, the one who saved her by betraying her, and the one who destroyed her by loving her too cruelly. And tonight, the cursed Omega they thought dead had come home. Chapter 2. The rain had thinned into a mist by the time Astrid reached the southern courtyard. Shadows danced across the torchlit path, guards pacing, their senses dull from the long night. Wolves had grown complacent under Rowan's rule. They had no reason to fear what they'd already buried. Until now. Astrid slipped through the outer wall, every step silent. The fortress still smelled of him, of them. Wet stone, iron, pine, and that unmistakable alpha scent that used to make her heart race and her stomach twist. Now it only burned her throat. The halls hadn't changed. She'd memorized every inch of them when she was a prisoner here, the cold floors, the flicker of the torches, the echo of footsteps she once prayed would never stop outside her door. Rowan's footsteps. Her fingers tightened around her dagger as she passed the old training yard. For a moment, she could still hear the laughter, the growls, the way he used to circle her with a predator's grin. You were never meant for him, little Omega, he'd said once. Warner doesn't understand what to do with a creature like you. But I do. And he had proven it, in ways she would never forget. Astrid shook the memory away, focusing on the double doors ahead, the throne room. Voices drifted through the crack in the wood. Familiar ones. One deep and cruel, the other sharp with impatience. Rowan. She pushed the door open just enough to see inside. The Alpha sat on the throne, sprawled like a god carved from obsidian. His golden eyes glowed beneath the torchlight, his dark hair falling over his brow. A scar crossed his jaw, a souvenir from the night she'd escaped. The same night she'd thought Warner had died. He looked older now. Sharper. But just as dangerous. Beside him stood a beta with a scroll. Rowan listened lazily, one hand resting on the armrest, the other holding a goblet of blood wine. Lyra's pulse quickened. She'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, the day she'd see him again. In her dreams, she'd cut that throat before he could even speak. But now, standing there, something twisted in her chest. A strange tremor. Not fear. Something darker. And the Northern Pack reports movement, Alpha, the Beta was saying. They claim a rogue crossed the border carrying the scent of. The cursed Omega, Rowan finished, his tone calm but sharp enough to cut. I heard. The Beta hesitated. Do you believe it's truly her? Rowan smirked, setting down his goblet. She's too stubborn to die. She always was. Astrid's breath caught. He leaned forward, eyes gleaming with something that looked almost like anticipation. If she's alive, she'll come for me. She always does. Her hand shook against the door. You sound almost pleased, the beta said nervously. Rowan's smirk deepened. Let her come. This time, I won't let her walk away. The rage that surged through her chest nearly burst out of her. But she swallowed it. Not yet. She needed to see Warner first, to understand why he sold her, why he vanished, why Rowan still breathed. She turned to leave, but a low growl stopped her cold. I was wondering when you'd stop hiding, Rowan's voice drawled. Her spine locked. Slowly, she turned. He was no longer on the throne. He stood only a few feet away, the door wide open behind her, his golden eyes burning into hers. Up close, he was worse than her memories, taller, broader, his scent thick with dominance and sin. The air between them pulsed with old heat and older hatred. Astrid, he murmured, almost softly. You're real. She raised her dagger. And you're still alive. Shame. He smiled faintly, stepping closer. You came back. I came to finish what you started, she hissed. His gaze flicked to her neck, where the two scars glowed faintly under the torchlight. Still carrying our marks, he said, voice low. You could have burned them off. They don't belong to me, she spat. They belong to your sins. Rowan's smile faded. Careful, little Omega. You forget who you're talking to. She didn't flinch. I stopped being yours the night Warner sold me. That hit. His eyes darkened, a storm rolling in. You think that absolves him? His tone sharpened. You think my brother's your savior? He's the reason you were mine to begin with. She gritted her teeth. He did it to protect me. He did it to protect himself. Rowan stepped closer until their breaths mingled. You want the truth? Ask him why he begged me to take you. Her grip on the dagger tightened. Liar. Then go ask him, Rowan said softly. If you can find him. The dagger wavered. Her chest heaved. He leaned down, his lips near her ear. And when you do, tell him I said hello. Her hand moved before she thought, she slashed, steel kissing flesh. Rowan grunted as blood streaked his cheek. For a moment, neither moved. Then he laughed, low and dark. Still have that temper, he said, touching the blood. I missed that. Astrid didn't wait for more. She kicked the door open and ran, vanishing into the corridor before the guards could respond. Her heart pounded as she fled through the winding halls, Rowan's laughter echoing after her like a curse. By the time she reached the outer gates, her lungs burned. She didn't stop until the forest swallowed her again. Only then did she fall to her knees, shaking. Warner. She had to find Warner. If Rowan's words were true, then the truth was darker than she ever imagined. She pressed her palm to her neck. The marks pulsed again, one hot, one cold, like two heartbeats at war beneath her skin. Tears stung her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Not tonight. Because the game had only begun. Chapter 3. The mountain air bit at Astrid's skin, cold enough to numb the ache that Rowan's voice had left behind. She moved through the thick mist like a shadow, every muscle screaming, every breath sharp. For days she'd followed the faintest scent, cedar, steel, and the unmistakable undertone of Warner. She'd told herself she didn't care what she found. That this wasn't about love or longing, just justice. But her heart didn't listen. Every time she caught that trace of him in the wind, her pulse betrayed her. By the third night, the forest opened into a clearing carved by time and solitude. A cabin stood there, weathered but steady. Smoke curled faintly from the chimney. Her steps slowed. For a moment, she stood still, staring. He was alive. Her hands trembled, not from the cold, but from everything she'd buried to survive. The door opened before she could move. Warner stood there. Time collapsed. He was different now, leaner, rougher, scars tracing his forearms like faded stories. His dark hair was longer, brushing his collar. His eyes, his eyes. Once a stormy gray, now dimmed with guilt, exhaustion, and something else, disbelief. Astrid, he breathed. Her throat tightened. She wanted to hit him. She wanted to fall into him. She wanted to scream until the mountains shattered. Instead, she said flatly, "You're alive." He stepped forward, hesitant. "You shouldn't be here." "I could say the same." He sighed, rubbing his temple. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand plenty." She raised her dagger slightly. "You sold me, Warner. You didn't even fight for me." The words cracked something between them. His jaw clenched, eyes closing as if the truth itself burned. "You think I didn't fight?" he said quietly. "I bled for you." "Then why wasn't it enough?" "Because if I hadn't given you to him, he would have killed you," Warner snapped, the alpha in him flashing for a heartbeat. "Rowan wanted your blood, not your life. The mark bound you to him, protected you from the curse. It was the only way to keep you breathing." Astrid's dagger wavered. "You're lying." He stepped closer. "Do I look like a man who got what he wanted? Look at me, Astrid. Do you see a brother? Or a ghost?" Her breath caught. There was truth in his eyes, ugly, broken truth. "I couldn't fight both the curse and Rowan," he continued, voice raw. "I tried. I lost my pack, my throne, everything. I thought, maybe if you lived, it would be enough." "It wasn't," she whispered. He looked away, the weight of the years pressing on him. "I know." For a moment, silence fell, only the wind and the distant echo of wolves. Astrid lowered her blade but didn't sheath it. "He said you begged him to take me." Warner flinched like she'd struck him. He twisted it. "I begged him to spare you. I didn't realize he'd make you his. You should have killed him." "I should have," he agreed. "But killing Rowan isn't as easy as you think. He's not just my brother, he's the heir of a curse older than both of us. Killing him could end the entire bloodline. Or end everything." Her eyes narrowed. "You're still protecting him?" "I'm protecting you," he said. Her laugh came out sharp and painful. "You protect me by giving me away? By letting him break me?" His shoulders dropped. "You think I didn't break too?" Something in his voice made her stop. He stepped closer, his scent washing over her, that mix of pine and smoke that used to mean home. "Every night, Astrid. I hear you screaming in my dreams. Every night I see the look in your eyes the moment they took you. I've been living in that moment for 7 years." Tears stung her eyes. She hated them. She hated that even now, he could make her feel something human. "You're lying," she said, but the words trembled. "Then look at me." He caught her wrist before she could pull away. "If you still think I don't regret it, then kill me." His heart thundered against her palm. One stroke, one movement, she could end it. She could end him. But she couldn't. Her hand shook, dagger quivering between them. "Do it," he whispered. "I won't stop you." "I should," she breathed. "I should end this." "Then why don't you?" Because she still loved him. She dropped the dagger and shoved him away. "You don't get to ask that." Warner stared at her, breathing hard. "You came here for revenge." "I came here for answers," she said. "And now I have them. You're both monsters." "If that's what helps you sleep," he said quietly. Sleep? She let out a hollow laugh. I haven't slept since the night he marked me. Warner's eyes softened. Then stay here tonight. Just for tonight. Let me explain everything. I don't need your pity. It's not pity, he said. It's the truth. You deserve to hear it without blood between us. For a long moment, she said nothing. The wind howled through the trees, and something in her heart, that small, dying ember of who she used to be, flickered. Finally, she nodded once. One night. Warner exhaled, relief flashing through his eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. She followed him inside. The cabin was small but warm. The fire crackled in the hearth, painting his face in amber light. For the first time, she saw the lines of exhaustion that years had carved into him. He wasn't the Alpha King she remembered. He was something else, something haunted. He poured 2 cups of tea, sliding one toward her. It's not blood wine, he said with a ghost of a smile. She didn't smile back. Start talking. He stared into the fire. The curse started long before us. Our family made a pact with the moon goddess for power. In return, every generation would bear 2 alpha sons, one to lead, one to destroy. Rowan was born under the blood moon. I was born under the eclipse. Astrid frowned. And me? You are the offering that broke the cycle, he said. But you were never supposed to survive it. She froze. What? Warner looked at her, eyes burning with regret. Rowan was supposed to kill you. Chapter 4. Astrid's blood turned to ice. She stared at Warner, her voice barely a whisper. He was supposed to kill me? Warner nodded slowly, his gaze hollow. The curse demanded a sacrifice. Every blood moon, one Omega tied to the Alpha bloodline had to die to keep the power balanced. Rowan, he was chosen as the executioner. But when he met you, he did something no one expected. He marked you instead. Her breath hitched. He what? He claimed you as his mate to bind your soul to the curse rather than kill you outright. It twisted the magic. You became the vessel holding both our marks, one from the Alpha of life, one from the Alpha of death. Astrid's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the table. That's impossible. Then why do you think you're still alive? Warner said softly. Why do you think he never let you leave? Her stomach twisted. Flashes of memory hit her, Rowan's hand around her throat, his whisper in her ear, you were never meant to survive this. She stumbled back, bile rising in her throat. So I've been living his curse this whole time. Warner stepped forward, desperate. No. You've been carrying it. But that means you can end it too. Astrid laughed, a bitter, broken sound. End it? You want me to fix your family's sin? It's not about fixing, he said. It's about freedom. Yours. Mine. Everyone's. Her eyes narrowed. And what's the price this time? My blood again? He met her gaze steadily. No. Mine. Silence swallowed the room. The fire crackled, spitting sparks. Astrid shook her head. You think dying is some kind of redemption? You think your death makes this right? I think it's the only way to stop him, Warner said, voice hardening. Rowan's power grows every day. The mark he gave you burns every time he touches another woman, she cut in bitterly. Yeah, I know. His jaw tightened. Then you understand why I can't let it go on. She stared at him, eyes glistening. You don't get to decide that anymore. You made your choice 7 years ago. And I've been dying every day since, he said. The words hit harder than she wanted them to. She looked away, fighting the sting in her chest. I don't care what happens to you. I just want him to stop. Then let me help you, Warner said. If we destroy the altar where the curse was born, the bond between you and Rowan will shatter. But I need your blood to open it. She glared at him. You just said. Not to kill you, he said quickly. Just enough to break the seal. I swear on the goddess, Astrid, I would never hurt you again. Her heart thudded painfully. She hated how easily she wanted to believe him. And if it fails? He didn't answer. That silence said everything. Astrid laughed shakily. You're unbelievable. Still trying to save everyone, even when it means dying for it. Warner's lips twitched into something that wasn't quite a smile. Someone has to. Her voice dropped. I don't want your death on me, Warner. Then don't make it about me. Make it about you. The firelight flickered across his face, catching in his eyes, that same storm gray that used to make her knees weak. He looked older now, sadder, but still the man she once trusted with her life. And maybe, despite everything, still the man she loved. She tore her gaze away. We leave at dawn. Warner nodded. It's a long journey. You should rest. I'll rest when Rowan is buried, she muttered. He didn't argue. Astrid turned toward the door, but stopped when he said her name. Astrid. She looked back. He hesitated, then said quietly, You deserve more than both of us. Her heart twisted painfully. Too late for that. And she walked away. The night was restless. Astrid lay awake by the fire, listening to the wind scrape against the windows. Warner had taken the floor near the door, his sword resting beside him. He looked peaceful, too peaceful for someone who'd ruined her life. She hated that she still saw the man she used to love when she looked at him. The man who'd once promised to burn the world before he'd ever let anyone hurt her. That same man who'd sold her to his brother. Sleep, he murmured without opening his eyes. I'm fine, she said automatically. You're shaking. It's cold. He opened his eyes then, dark gray pools reflecting the firelight. It's fear. She scoffed. I stopped being afraid years ago. Liar, he whispered. She turned away, jaw clenched. Go to sleep, Warner. He didn't answer, but she could feel his gaze on her until the fire burned low. Dawn crept in silver and soft. They packed in silence. Warner moved with quiet efficiency, his presence heavy, deliberate. Astrid avoided looking at him too long. Every time she did, the ache in her chest grew harder to ignore. As they reached the edge of the forest, she stopped. You said Rowan will feel it when we destroy the altar. Warner nodded. He'll come for you. He always does. Good, she said coldly. Let him try. Warner's expression flickered, pride and fear all at once. You've changed. So have you. He gave a faint smile. I hope that's a good thing. She met his eyes for a moment longer than she should have. We'll see. They began the trek up the mountain trail. The world around them grew darker, the trees older, the air thicker with magic. The closer they got, the more her mark burned, a sharp, crawling pain that made her clutch her arm. Warner was beside her instantly. It's reacting to him. Then he knows. He nodded grimly. We don't have much time. By midday, the clouds had turned red, the first sign of the blood moon rising early. The curse was awakening. Astrid's pulse quickened. He's coming. Warner drew his sword, his entire body shifting into battle readiness. Then let him. A distant howl echoed through the valley, low, resonant, and furious. Astrid froze. She knew that sound anywhere. Rowan. Her mark burned hotter, the pain spreading across her chest like fire. He's close. Warner stepped in front of her, voice low. Stay behind me. She pushed past him. Not this time. Astrid. I'm done hiding, Warner. She raised her dagger, her voice shaking with fury. If he wants a monster, I'll show him one. Warner's gaze darkened with pride and dread. Then we end this together. She glanced at him. Don't die on me. He almost smiled. You too. The ground trembled. The trees bent under invisible force as Rowan emerged from the mist, tall, broad, terrifying in his beauty. His black hair clung to his temples, his eyes glowing crimson. Brother, he said with a grin that was pure cruelty. I was wondering when you'd crawl out of your hole. Warner tightened his grip on his sword. It's over, Rowan. Oh, I don't think so. Rowan's gaze slid to Astrid, his grin widening. You brought my Omega home. Astrid's dagger gleamed. I was never yours. His laughter chilled the air. You carry my mark, sweetheart. You'll always be mine. Warner stepped forward. Not anymore. Rowan tilted his head. Then let's see who she really belongs to. Chapter 5. The air cracked with power. The moment Rowan took a step forward, the earth shuddered beneath his boots. The ground pulsed red, veins of light crawling across the soil like serpents. The forest itself seemed to recoil from him. Astrid's pulse pounded so loud it hurt. The mark on her neck flared, hot and angry, matching the rhythm of his steps. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But she stood her ground. You shouldn't have come here, she said, her voice low and steady despite the fear gnawing at her spine. Rowan's grin widened, sharp as a blade. And miss my mate trying to destroy my legacy? Not a chance. Warner moved between them, sword drawn, eyes locked on his brother. You forfeited your right to call her yours when you sold her soul to that curse. Rowan chuckled darkly. You mean the curse you started? Don't act like you're innocent, Warner. We both played gods once. Maybe, Warner said, his voice steady, but only one of us became a monster. In a blur of motion, Rowan struck. Astrid barely saw it, just a flash of claws, a gust of wind, the screech of steel meeting flesh. Warner blocked, sparks flying, the impact throwing both men apart. Rowan's laughter echoed through the clearing. Still slow, brother. Warner wiped the blood from his lip, smirking faintly. Still talking too much. They clashed again, power meeting power, fury meeting regret. The world around them blurred into chaos. Astrid stood frozen for half a heartbeat before the burning pain in her mark nearly dropped her to her knees. She gritted her teeth, clutching the dagger tighter. Enough, she screamed, the sound breaking through the din of their fight. For a moment, both brothers paused, just long enough for Astrid to press the blade against her mark. Magic exploded. The dagger glowed white-hot, runes igniting across its surface. The curse within her screamed, the mark pulsing like a living thing trying to escape her skin. She cried out, collapsing to her knees. Warner lunged toward her. Astrid, stop. Rowan grabbed his arm mid-stride, snarling. Let her burn herself out. That's what she was made for. Warner roared, twisting out of his brother's grip, slamming his shoulder into Rowan's chest. She's not a weapon, damn you. Then what is she? Rowan spat. A pet? A prize? You marked her too, remember? Astrid's head snapped up. What? Warner froze. Rowan's smile turned venomous. You didn't tell her, did you? You think she wouldn't remember? Her voice trembled. Tell me what? Warner's jaw tightened. It wasn't like that. You marked me, she whispered, horror flooding her face. You marked me, Warner? It was the only way to save you, he shouted. He would have killed you that night. Her scream cut through him. You had no right. The light from the dagger flared again, throwing them all back. The mark on her neck split, bleeding silver. She gasped, clutching her throat, as the ground beneath her cracked open. From the fissure rose the altar, black stone, etched with symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. The curse had awakened fully. Warner stared, horror dawning. No, it's feeding on her. Rowan laughed, the sound wild and cruel. Then let it, brother. Let the goddess take what's hers. Astrid struggled to stand, her entire body trembling. I'm not hers, she rasped. I'm done being anyone's. She thrust the dagger into the altar. The explosion was blinding. A shockwave tore through the clearing, flinging Rowan backward and knocking Warner to his knees. Astrid screamed as the magic inside her ripped loose, fire and lightning twisting around her body. Warner crawled toward her, shouting over the chaos. Astrid! You have to let me take it. No, she cried. It's mine to end. Rowan staggered to his feet, blood running down his temple. You'll die if you do. She glared at him through the burning light. Maybe I'm meant to. He moved toward her, his expression cracking, fury giving way to something else. Desperation. Fear. Astrid, stop. I never wanted this. Liar, she screamed. You marked me. You made me your curse. He reached out. I did it to protect you. From what? You. He hesitated. From them. From our father. You think I wanted to sell you? I was trying to save you from being slaughtered by the same wolves who killed our mother. Warner's head snapped up, disbelief etching across his face. You're lying. Rowan's eyes burned red. Am I? Astrid's power flickered, faltered. Stop, both of you. None of this changes what you did. Astrid, listen to me. Warner shouted over the roar of wind. If we destroy the altar, the curse ends. But one of us has to die to seal it. Her breath caught. What? It demands blood of an alpha, Warner said. It was always the price. Rowan smirked weakly. Then let it be his. He's been dying to play the hero. Warner's hand tightened on his sword. It'll be yours, brother. They lunged at the same time. Astrid screamed, forcing herself between them. The blade meant for Rowan sliced across her shoulder instead, blood spraying across the altar. The symbols blazed red, hungry. Warner's eyes went wide. No. Her body convulsed. The curse surged, pulling the power from both brothers through her wound. She fell to her knees, eyes glowing with blinding silver light. The world went silent. Then everything shattered. The altar cracked apart, the light exploding into the sky like a dying star. Rowan fell back, gasping, clutching his chest. Warner crawled to Lyra, shaking her. Astrid, stay with me. Please. Her voice was faint, her skin pale as moonlight. It's done. No, he whispered, his heart breaking. No, don't you dare. She smiled weakly. For once, Warner. I chose this. He pressed his forehead to hers, voice breaking. Then choose to live. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Only a single tear slid down her cheek. Rowan staggered closer, his own breath shallow. You killed us all. Warner looked up, rage and grief twisting his face. No. You did. He drew his sword, the last of his strength burning in his veins. Rowan didn't move, didn't even fight, as Warner plunged the blade through his heart. Rowan's body convulsed once, then fell still. The wind stopped. The mark on Astrid's neck faded to nothing. Warner caught her limp form, pulling her into his arms. "Please," he whispered, rocking her gently. "Don't leave me." "Not again." Her hand twitched, barely brushing his chest. "Freedom," she breathed. "You promised." And then she went still. Warner's cry echoed through the dead forest, raw, broken, unending. As the blood moon set, dawn broke over the ruins of the altar. The curse was gone. The brothers were broken. And somewhere, deep within the silence, the goddess whispered, not in words, but in knowing. Freedom always demands blood. Chapter 6. Silence. That was the first thing she felt. Not peace. Not warmth. Just an aching stillness that pressed down on her chest like the world had stopped breathing. Astrid opened her eyes to a sky made of silver mist. The forest was gone. The altar was gone. Even the pain that had shredded her body was gone. Only quiet remained. She stood, or thought she did. Her reflection rippled beneath her, the ground made of shallow water that mirrored her face. She looked, untouched. No wounds. No blood. No mark. But when she touched her throat, she could still feel where Warner's lips had been, trembling against her fading heartbeat. "Am I dead?" she whispered. The question drifted, unanswered, until a soft voice replied from behind her. "Not yet." Astrid spun. The woman before her was both blinding and terrifying, eyes like starlight, hair flowing like smoke, her presence filling every inch of the air. The moon goddess. Astrid's breath caught. "It's you." The goddess smiled faintly. "You've spilled blood in my name, child. You've carried my curse longer than most could bear. You've come to where all choices end." Astrid swallowed hard. "Did I free them?" "You freed yourself," the goddess said. "The brothers' fates are their own now." "Then why am I here?" The goddess moved closer, her voice soft but sharp enough to cut. "Because freedom is never the end. It is only another kind of burden. You stand at the threshold of 3 paths." Astrid's heart thudded. "Free? One leads to peace," the goddess said, and as she spoke, a silver doorway shimmered into existence before them. "Beyond it, your pain ends. You will rest among the lost and the loved." Another door appeared, black stone and fire. "The second leads to vengeance. Take it, and you may return to the world to punish those who wronged you. But you will never again know love or light." Astrid's gaze shifted to the final doorway, a cracked wooden gate, faintly glowing with gold. "And the third?" The goddess's smile faded. "The third leads back to life. But it will cost you. The curse may be gone, but so is the bond that once tied you to him. You will return empty, human, forgotten." Astrid's throat tightened. "Warner." "He lives," the goddess said. "Barely. He paid for his brother's sins in blood and silence. But if you return, he will not remember you. That is the price of your freedom." Astrid closed her eyes. The silence filled with echoes of his voice, every whisper, every promise, every broken piece of the love they had fought for. She whispered, "Why does it always end like this?" The goddess tilted her head. "Because love is not meant to bind you. It is meant to reveal you." Astrid turned toward the golden gate. Her hands trembled. "If I go back, will he ever know who I was to him?" The goddess stepped closer, resting a hand against her chest. "He may forget your name, but he will never forget the way his soul felt when it found yours." A single tear slid down Astrid's cheek. "Then that's enough." The goddess nodded once. "So be it." The light flared, swallowing her whole. Warner awoke to the sound of rain. Every part of him ached, like his bones had been ground to dust and put back together wrong. The air smelled of smoke and blood and earth. He blinked until the world came into focus, the broken altar, the bodies scattered like forgotten prayers, and the silence that followed war. And her absence. Astrid. He pushed himself up, ignoring the pain that seared through his ribs. Her blood still stained his hands, dried to silver dust. He searched the clearing, heart hammering, calling her name until his throat burned. Nothing. Only the wind answered. He fell to his knees, gripping the dirt. Please, he rasped. Take everything. Just bring her back. But the goddess had already taken everything. When the healers found him hours later, they said he was lucky to be alive. But luck felt like mockery when every breath reminded him of what he'd lost. For days, he didn't speak. For weeks, he refused the crown. And when the elders came to name him Alpha King, he simply walked away. The village by the river was quiet that morning. The mist was thick, curling around the thatched rooftops like smoke. Astrid stepped out of the cottage, clutching a woven basket against her hip. Her hair, once tangled and wild, now hung straight and simple. The scar at her throat was the only mark of the life she couldn't remember. At least, that's what they told her. A traveler found her weeks ago near the ruins, unconscious, covered in blood that wasn't her own. She didn't know her name, but when she woke, the sound Astrid had fallen from her lips like a memory she didn't own. The village healer took her in, said the past was best left buried. But sometimes, when the moon was high, Astrid's heart ached for something she couldn't name. That morning, as she walked toward the market, she heard the distant sound of horses. The villagers looked up as a small escort of riders appeared at the edge of the road. Their leader dismounted, a man with silver scars running down his arm, his eyes the color of a storm. Warner. Astrid froze. Her breath caught. The world tilted. He looked at her once, then again, longer this time. Like something deep inside him had recognized what his mind couldn't. Their eyes met. And the wind shifted. Astrid's basket slipped from her hands, apples rolling across the dirt. Warner's heart lurched. Why? Does she feel like home? He stepped closer, then stopped himself, fingers twitching. Forgive me, he said, voice rough. You just reminded me of someone. She forced a small smile, though her pulse was hammering. Do I? Yes, he murmured. Someone I lost. For a moment, neither moved. The air between them felt alive, like the ghost of something holy was breathing there. Astrid swallowed hard. I hope you find her. He hesitated, his gaze softening. I think I just did. Before she could reply, one of his guards called out, and Warner turned away, climbing back onto his horse. Astrid stood there long after they disappeared into the mist, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. She touched her chest, feeling that strange, impossible warmth. Why does it feel, she whispered to the wind, like I've lost you before? That night, Warner couldn't sleep. He sat by the fire, staring into the flames, his hand pressed against the faint ache on his wrist, the place where her mark used to be. His wolf stirred beneath his skin, restless. She's gone, Warner whispered. You know that. The wolf didn't answer. It only howled inside him, low and grieving. And in another village, beneath the same moon, Astrid woke from a dream she couldn't remember, tears on her cheeks and his name, unspoken, caught on her lips. Chapter 7. The days turned into weeks. Warner found himself returning to that same village under every excuse he could invent, trade, patrol, peace talks. But every time, his gaze found her. The woman with quiet eyes and a voice that felt like a memory. Astrid. She didn't know him. He told himself that. He repeated it like prayer. She didn't remember the curse, the blood, the betrayal. To her, he was just a stranger who stared too long. But the ache in his chest every time she smiled told him otherwise. He'd lost his wolf that night, felt it die beneath the goddess's light. But sometimes, when she was near, he swore he could still hear the faint echo of it, pacing behind his ribs, whispering her name like a vow. The first time he approached her again, she was kneeling in the market square, helping an old woman gather herbs that had spilled from her basket. "You shouldn't do that," Warner said softly. Astrid glanced up. "Do what?" "Help everyone. Someone will take advantage of that kindness." She smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Maybe. But I'll help anyway." Warner's lips twitched. "That sounds familiar." "To who?" she asked. He hesitated. "Someone I used to know." She said things like that. Astrid tilted her head. "What happened to her?" "She died," he said quietly. "Saving me." Her expression softened. "Then she must have loved you very much." "She did," Warner said, voice breaking on the edge of truth. "And I didn't deserve it." Astrid's eyes flickered, and for a heartbeat, something deep inside her stirred. A flash of silver. The sound of rain. A name that felt like a heartbeat, Warner. But it slipped away before she could catch it. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For your loss." He nodded once. "So am I." He walked away before the pain swallowed him whole. That night, Astrid dreamed again. A throne of ash. A blood moon. Two brothers standing before her, both marked by the same curse, both reaching for her throat. One with mercy. One with hate. And her voice, her real voice, screaming his name. She woke with a gasp, sweat clinging to her skin. Her heart thundered. The old healer, Mira, stirred from her chair by the fire. "Another dream?" Astrid pressed a hand to her chest. "They're getting stronger." "What did you see this time?" Astrid hesitated. "A man. Two of them. Brothers." Mira frowned. "You said that before." "They both looked like beasts," Astrid murmured. "But one of them, he wasn't cruel. He was broken." Mira studied her quietly. "Maybe it's your mind trying to remember." Astrid shook her head. "No. It's more than that. It's like something inside me knows I'm supposed to find him." "Then you will," Mira said simply. "But be careful, child. Fate doesn't give without taking." Warner didn't mean to go back again. But something pulled him there like a thread he couldn't sever. He found her at the riverbank this time, washing herbs in the current. The afternoon light made her hair glow. He stood for a long time, watching in silence. "You came back," she said without turning around. He blinked. "You knew I was here?" "You've been standing there long enough for the river to notice," she teased. He chuckled softly. "Then I'll take that as an invitation." Astrid looked up, eyes catching his. "Maybe it is." He knelt beside her, helping her rinse the herbs. Their fingers brushed, and the world stopped. The air crackled, an invisible tether snapping taut between them. Warner's breath hitched. For one unbearable moment, he felt his wolf stir. Astrid flinched, clutching her chest. "What was that?" Warner pulled back, shaking his head. "I don't know." But he did. Goddess help him, he did. That night, the storm came. Lightning carved the sky open as Warner rode through the forest. He couldn't explain it, only feel it, that something was wrong. His guards shouted for him to stop, but he pushed forward until the trees broke, revealing the village below. Fire. The cottages burned like torches in the rain. Screams cut through the storm. Warner's blood turned to ice. He leapt from his horse, shifting on instinct, but nothing happened. His wolf was gone. He was just a man. Still, he ran. Astrid was there, in the middle of it all, dragging a child out of a burning house. Her arm was bleeding, her face streaked with soot, but she didn't stop. When she saw Warner, her eyes widened. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," he snapped, grabbing her wrist and pulling her behind him as a beam collapsed nearby. "You could have died." "I couldn't leave them," she shouted back. "You're insane." "Then we're both insane," she shot back, tearing free of his grip to help another villager. Warner cursed under his breath but followed her anyway, shielding her as the flames spread. Together, they fought through the chaos until the last child was safe. When the fire finally died, Warner stood in the rain, chest heaving. Astrid collapsed beside him, shaking. He looked at her, so fierce, so stubborn, so familiar. And then, before he could stop himself, he reached out and brushed a strand of wet hair from her face. Her eyes met his. The air pulsed. The rain slowed. The world blurred until all that existed was them. Warner whispered, voice trembling, "I know you." Astrid's lips parted. "You can't." But her eyes, her soul, said otherwise. Mira found them hours later, sitting in silence as dawn crept over the ruins. Warner's hand was wrapped in Astrid's. "She remembers something," he said softly. "Not much. But enough." Mira sighed. "Then fate isn't done with you yet." Warner looked at Astrid, still unconscious against his shoulder. "I don't want fate. I just want her." "Wanting her is what broke the curse the first time," Mira warned. "Don't let it destroy you again." Warner didn't answer. He only brushed his thumb across Astrid's hand and whispered, "Then let it." When Astrid woke again, the sky was clear. Warner sat by her bed, silent, unreadable. She studied him for a long time before whispering, "You were in my dreams." He froze. "I saw you," she continued, tears pooling in her eyes. "I saw your brother. The curse. The blood. You tried to save me." Warner's voice was rough. "And failed." She shook her head. "No. You didn't fail. You freed me." Warner reached for her hand but stopped midway, trembling. "If you remember, then you know what I did, what I let happen." "I know what you sacrificed," she said softly. "That's not the same." For the first time, he looked away. The weight of years, regret, pain, love, hung between them like smoke. Astrid leaned closer, her voice breaking. "Do you still love me?" He exhaled shakily. "I never stopped." Her tears fell freely. "Then love me again." And for the first time in 7 years, he did. Chapter 8. The peace didn't last. Warner felt at first, that electric ripple in the air, the shift in the wind that made even the birds scatter. He'd been walking with Astrid along the edge of the village when the scent hit him. Familiar. Metallic. Wrong. His brother. Rowan. The name burned like acid in his throat. Astrid stopped mid-step, her hand tightening on his arm. "Warner," she whispered. "Why does the air feel like it's watching us?" Warner's jaw clenched. "Because it is." The forest went still. Then, from between the trees, they emerged, black-armored wolves, their eyes gleaming red, and behind them, the man Warner had once called brother. Rowan stepped into the light, smirking like sin itself. His dark hair was slicked back, his cloak soaked from the river he must have crossed to get here. His eyes were gold, not warm, not soft, but sharp, cruel, and burning with something twisted. "Little brother," he said. "You look human." Warner's muscles locked. "Leave." "Leave?" Rowan laughed, spreading his arms wide. "I came all this way to see the miracle. The cursed alpha who gave up his wolf for love." He turned his gaze to Astrid, and his smirk deepened. "And the reason for it?" Astrid stiffened under his stare. There was something familiar about that face, a shadow from her nightmares, a whisper in her blood. "Who are you?" she asked quietly. Rowan tilted his head. "You don't remember me? Good. It'll hurt less when I kill him in front of you." Warner stepped forward, fury in every motion. "You won't touch her." "Funny," Rowan said, drawing his blade. "You said that the night you sold her to me." Astrid's world tilted. She looked at Warner, disbelief flashing through her like lightning. "What is he talking about?" Warner froze. Rowan chuckled. "Oh, you didn't tell her? You didn't tell your sweet little mate that you gave her to me, traded her, to save your cursed hide?" "That's not," Warner began, but Astrid's voice cut through him like a blade. "Is it true?" Warner turned to her, his chest burning. "Astrid, Is it true?" The silence that followed was worse than any scream. Warner's throat worked, but the words died there. His silence was her answer. Rowan grinned like victory. "See? You were his offering, little Omega. His peace treaty. He wanted to keep you safe," he said. "How sweet. How pathetic." Astrid's hand trembled. "You sold me?" Warner stepped closer, reaching out, but she flinched away like his touch burned. "Astrid, it wasn't like that. I thought. You thought I wouldn't survive without you," she snapped. "You thought you had the right to decide my pain?" "I thought I was protecting you," he whispered. "You destroyed me," she said. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The quiet was worse. "Do you know what it felt like? Being his prisoner? Being reminded every day that my mate, my alpha, gave me away like I was a thing?" Warner's eyes shut. He couldn't look at her. Rowan watched them with cruel delight. Ah, family drama. How touching. He raised his sword, the metal catching the last light of the dying sun. "I think I'll end it now. Maybe I'll even keep her again, for old time's sake." Warner's wolf might have been gone, but rage, pure, ancient rage, tore through him. He lunged forward, catching Rowan's blade with his bare hands. The steel sliced his palms, blood spilling, but he didn't stop. "You'll never touch her again," Warner growled. Rowan shoved him back. "Without your wolf, you're nothing." "Then let's find out." The brothers collided. The world turned to violence. Steel clashed, earth split, blood hit the ground like rain. Every blow was history, every punch, betrayal. Astrid stood frozen, the storm of their past colliding in front of her eyes. Her heart screamed one thing while her mind whispered another. She could end it. She should end it. She could feel the dormant power in her veins, ancient, feminine, born of the curse itself, awakening like a sleeping beast. Rowan threw Warner to the ground, sword raised high. "You always were too soft," he snarled. And then Astrid moved. The wind bent around her, the ground cracked beneath her bare feet. She raised her hand, and the air obeyed. "Get away from him." Rowan turned just as the power exploded from her palm. It wasn't fire, or light, it was raw force, born of her blood and pain. It slammed into Rowan, hurling him back through the trees. Warner stared at her, chest heaving. "Astrid, what did you—" "I don't know," she said, trembling. But it felt right. They dragged Rowan's broken body to the edge of the forest before he disappeared into the shadows, retreating with a promise. "This isn't over, brother," he hissed, blood running down his chin. "You can't hide from what you are." When he was gone, silence fell again. Astrid stood at the edge of the clearing, rain mixing with her tears. Warner approached slowly. "Astrid." "Don't," she whispered. "Not yet." He stopped a few feet away, pain etched across his face. I know you thought you were protecting me, she said finally. But you didn't save me, Warner. You just gave me a different kind of cage. I know, he said hoarsely. And if I could undo it? You can't. He nodded, accepting the blow. Then let me earn forgiveness instead. She turned to look at him, eyes cold but not cruel. You'll have to fight harder than that. He gave a faint smile. I will. Their eyes met, neither of them moving, the world suspended between forgiveness and fury. And somewhere in the distance, the wolves began to howl, not for war, but for judgment. Chapter 9. Days bled into nights, and the storm between them never truly passed. Astrid stayed in the healer's hut, silent, distant, rebuilding her strength, but Warner could feel her anger even through walls. It was like fire under his skin, burning him alive. He kept his distance, at first. Gave her space. Watched her from afar, the way a sinner watches the altar he's not worthy to touch. Every night, she trained in secret, learning to control the wild power that had burst from her that day. The village whispered now, about the Omega who could move the air, who faced alphas without bowing. Some called her cursed. Others called her chosen. And Warner? They called him broken. He didn't argue. Maybe they were right. One night, as the moon climbed high, Astrid stood outside the hut, staring at her trembling hands. The air around her shimmered faintly with energy. She whispered to the wind, voice raw. If I was meant to be weak, then why do I feel this strong? Behind her, Warner's voice was quiet. Because strength was never about blood. Or rank. It's about what's left when everything else is taken from you. She turned. He stood there, his face shadowed, his shirt still torn from battle, his hands scarred. But his eyes, God's, his eyes were soft. Why are you here? She asked. To protect you, he said. Her lips twisted bitterly. You've done enough of that. I know, he said. But I can't stop trying. Even if you never forgive me. She stared at him for a long time before whispering, You really think you deserve forgiveness? No, Warner said, voice breaking. But you do. That silence stretched again, thick, unbearable, full of everything they hadn't said. Then the air changed. Cold. Metallic. Wrong. Astrid felt it first, the scent of iron and smoke. She looked up. He's back. Warner's head snapped toward the forest. Rowan. From the treeline came the sound of drums. Not music. Not ritual. War. Wolves poured out, dozens, maybe hundreds, their eyes glowing red with bloodlust. And leading them, cloaked in darkness, was Rowan. But this time, he was not the same. His aura pulsed black. The curse had claimed him fully. Brother, he called, voice booming across the valley. Did you really think you could run from your blood? Warner stepped in front of Astrid. You shouldn't have come back. Rowan laughed, the sound cracked and unholy. I didn't come for you. I came for her. His gaze locked on Astrid, and the shadows around him deepened. The girl who broke my curse. The Omega who thinks she's more than a pawn. Astrid's chin lifted. I'm not a pawn. Oh no, Rowan smiled, fangs flashing. You're the trigger. The earth shook. From behind him, black mist erupted, the shape of something ancient and monstrous coiling in the dark. Warner's eyes widened. What did you do? I freed it, Rowan said. The curse was never meant to be contained. And now it lives in me. He lunged forward, faster than sight, his claws tearing through the air. Warner shoved Astrid aside, meeting his brother mid-strike. The collision sent shockwaves through the clearing. Astrid stumbled, watching the brothers tear into each other. The world blurred, claws, blood, teeth, light. But through it all, she heard a voice, low, ancient, echoing in her mind. Child of breath and bone, you carry what they feared. You can end them, or become them. Her hands glowed again, the air spiraling around her. The power wanted out. It wanted everything. Warner roared as Rowan's claws sank into his shoulder. Blood sprayed. Astrid! Don't hold back! I don't know how. Then feel it, he shouted, shoving Rowan back with a surge of fury. You're not cursed, you're the cure. The wind screamed as Astrid's eyes blazed silver. Her pulse matched the rhythm of the storm building above. Rowan turned, eyes wild. You can't kill me, little mate. You're part of me now. You carry both our marks. I carry mine, she screamed. The power exploded. Light tore through the sky, splitting the clouds apart. The ground cracked. Wolves dropped to their knees, howling. The curse itself twisted, recoiling as if burned. When the light faded, Rowan was on his knees, his aura flickering like dying embers. Warner stood barely breathing, blood dripping down his arm, his eyes locked on her. Astrid walked toward Rowan, slow, deliberate. For the first time, he looked afraid. You took everything from me, she said softly. My freedom. My voice. My hope. But you forgot something. Rowan's lips trembled. What? I was never yours. She placed her hand on his chest, and with a whisper, the same one the curse had spoken, she broke him. The darkness left his body like smoke unraveling in the wind. Rowan fell forward, collapsing into Warner's arms, gasping. For the first time in years, his eyes looked human. Brother, he whispered. Warner held him, tears mixing with blood. I know. And then Rowan went still. Astrid turned away, trembling. The power drained from her, leaving her hollow, aching, alive. Warner rose slowly, his hands shaking. It's over. She looked at him, at the man who'd broken her and saved her in the same breath. No, she said quietly. It's just beginning. As dawn crept over the forest, the surviving wolves gathered in silence. The air smelled of ash and endings. Astrid stood at the center, her hair tangled, her eyes silver still. They bowed to her, not out of fear, but reverence. Warner stood beside her, bruised but unbroken. What happens now? He asked. She looked toward the horizon. We rebuild. But not the way they did. No more cages. No more bloodlines that own us. He hesitated. And us? Astrid turned to him, pain flickering behind her strength. You once said you wanted to protect me. I still do. Then let me stand beside you. Not behind. Astrid nodded slowly. Always. For the first time, she believed him. Chapter 10. The smoke lingered for days after the battle. The scent of blood and fire clung to the trees, to the stones, to the very air they breathed. But underneath it all, there was something new, the faint, trembling pulse of peace. Astrid walked through the ruins at dawn. The sun rose red over the horizon, painting the forest gold and crimson. The wolves who survived were rebuilding what was left of their home. She could hear them murmuring her name in awe, the Omega who ended the curse. The one who killed an alpha and lived. She didn't feel like a hero. She felt hollow. Like the war had carved something out of her that she might never get back. Warner found her by the riverbank, kneeling in the water, washing blood from her hands. He didn't say anything at first. Just watched her. The silence between them wasn't sharp anymore, it was fragile, careful, full of what neither knew how to say. Finally, he spoke. You haven't slept. I can't, she said quietly. Every time I close my eyes, I see him. I see what I did. Warner stepped closer. You freed him, Astrid. You didn't kill your mate. You killed the curse that made him a monster. She turned, water dripping from her fingers, her eyes distant. He was still my mate, Warner. Part of me broke when he fell. And I don't know how to stop bleeding. Warner's throat tightened. He wanted to reach for her, but his hand hovered in the air between them, uncertain, trembling. You don't stop, he said softly. You live through it. That's all any of us can do. Her gaze flickered to his hand. Then she reached out, curling her fingers around his. And what about you? You lost a brother. Warner's jaw flexed, pain flashing across his face. I lost him long before he died. I just didn't want to admit it. For a while, neither of them spoke. The river moved quietly around their knees, the sunlight glinting off its surface like liquid fire. Finally, Astrid stood. The pack needs a leader. Warner nodded slowly. They need you. She blinked at him. Me? You broke the curse, he said simply. They follow strength, not rank. And you're stronger than all of us. Astrid stared at him, the words hitting deeper than she expected. You'd give up your throne? Warner smiled faintly. A throne built on blood isn't worth keeping. But a kingdom built on choice, he paused, meeting her eyes. That's something I could stand beside. Her chest tightened. You really think they'll follow an Omega? He stepped closer until they were a breath apart. No. They'll follow their Alpha. And that's you. She stared at him, searching his face for mockery, but there was none, only quiet reverence. For the first time, someone wasn't trying to own her. He was offering her everything and asking for nothing in return. Astrid exhaled, the weight in her chest loosening just a little. If I take this path, she said, you walk it with me. Always, Warner said. But this time, not as your protector. Her lips curved faintly. Then what? He smiled, tired, human, and heartbreakingly sincere. As your equal. The coronation wasn't like the old Alphas. There were no crowns, no blood oaths, no forced kneeling. Just the wolves gathered in the clearing beneath the moon. Astrid stood at the center, the wind stirring her hair, her scars catching the silver light. Warner stood at her side, no longer the Alpha King, but the man who had finally learned how to bow, not from weakness, but from love. When the pack howled, it wasn't for dominance or fear. It was a promise. A vow that the cycle had ended. Astrid raised her chin, her voice carrying through the night. No one owns another here. Not by blood. Not by bond. Not by curse. We are free. The wolves howled louder. The sound was wild, raw, and beautiful. For the first time, freedom didn't sound like rebellion, it sounded like home. Warner looked at her, pride softening every line of his face. You did it. Astrid smiled faintly. We did it. He shook his head. No. You let us out. She turned to him, her expression gentler now. Then come find me when you're ready to live in what we built. He frowned slightly. What do you mean? She took his hand and pressed it to her chest, where his mark had once glowed. Now, only faint silver lines remained. We can't build something new if we keep carrying the ghosts of what broke us. His eyes filled with understanding and pain. You're leaving. For a while, she said softly. Not forever. I need to know who I am without a curse, without a mate. Warner swallowed hard. Then I'll wait. As long as it takes. Astrid's smile trembled, but she held his gaze. Then maybe when I come back, it won't be waiting. It'll be walking forward. He nodded once, his throat too tight to speak. Weeks later, she stood on the ridge above the valley, her cloak fluttering in the wind. The forest stretched endless below, the same place that had once been her cage, now her freedom. She closed her eyes, breathing in the air. No scent of blood. No echoes of chains. Only the sound of life, of beginnings. And for the first time in years, she smiled. Her voice carried softly on the wind. I was never their curse. I was their ending. Behind her, the faint howl of a wolf echoed through the trees, deep, mournful, familiar. Warners. She didn't turn back. She didn't need to. Some bonds didn't require chains to last. She whispered to the wind, "Goodbye, for now." And with that, she walked into the dawn. If you've stayed with Astrid and Warner until this moment, thank you for feeling their pain, their fight, and their freedom. If this story touched something inside you, if you've ever had to burn your past just to find your own voice, then like this video, comment, and subscribe for more stories that cut deep. Because not every love story ends with forever. Some end with finally becoming who you were meant to be.